Folks, we are live. Welcome to Dungeons, Dragons, and Discourse. I am one of your hosts, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. With me, as every other Friday, is Old Man Grognard, Glen Hallstrom.
With a new haircut.
Don't talk about haircuts, Glenn. My last haircut was, oh my God, end of last May, right before North Texas. So I am a bit overdue. With us are the two men that are pretty much holding the Arduin legacy together. From Emperor's Choice Games,
Ta-da!
Dave and George. Welcome.
Howdy.
Hey, how you doing?
Dave and George. That's not quite the ring of
What?
Ernie and Dave.
Ernie and Luke.
Ernie. Yeah. But it's there. Oh, before we start, one thing off topic. Doc,
Yes.
Thank you for the email about one of my podcasts. I really appreciate it. I never answered him back, so we're good.
Oh, now you answer them. Congratulations.
Now I don't have to.
Cheers.
Yeah.
No,
So gentlemen, like George, George. I feel like I've known you forever, but probably only been a couple of years.
Yeah.
But
it feels like forever.
it doesn't. It's a good forever, Glenn. It's a good forever. Like you, Glenn, I've known forever.
True.
I
This guy
don't
called me
know
out
how
of the blue.
good it is, but
This guy calls me out of the blue. I wait for him to ask me, like, how's your liver? How's your back?
are you alive?
Are you alive?
But we've been talking Emperor's Choice / Arduin stuff since I met you.
Yeah.
And I do have a little inkling of, you're wearing your bloody Arduin shirt.
Yeah, we've got all the.
Damn it! I missed the memo. Damn it! I didn't. By the way, folks, I do have my bloody Arduin shirt, but.
We just drank from the mugs last night.
Oh yeah, Rich is like, we just drank from the Arduin mugs last night when we had
Mine's
our tea.
a little short, but I don't know if that's because it's the wrong
Yes.
size or it shrank.
I love the Arduin mugs, by the way, because they are sizable enough to hold more than just a little. You get a decent. I drink tea, so I got a decent amount of tea in an Arduin mug. When you get the regular mugs at a store, they're usually undersized. I don't know.
Arduin mugs should be the size of those giant Bucky cups. No. 44, 46 ounce.
There we go. We'll have to
I
do
just
another
opened up
round.
a set of those mugs. I never even took a set for myself. Just yesterday.
Okay. No, those mugs are great. I always, when Rach comes out with the Arduin mug, I'm like, oh, good. I get a couple of extra ounces of my tea tonight. I get very happy.
Somebody asked, what is Arduin?
All right. Well, that's a question I'm going to have to leave to you two gentlemen, because I am merely a traveler in Arduin. You two are the.
We give that to George.
the
He
Lord
loves
keepers.
to talk.
I will keep this as a capsule history, but no, we appreciate the question there, Zatran. What is Arduin? Arduin is a creation. It's a country, a world from Dave H. Hargrave. He created Arduin back in the day. His first published book was the Arduin Grimoire in 1977. So I'll do a quick, again, capsule history of Arduin. Dave Hargrave, he was in Vietnam, did a tour for 6 years. He was a combat photographer, also worked with the intelligence agency there, the CIA in Vietnam. And when he came back, he got into games. He was doing different games, but the role-playing games was something that he started getting a passion for. So he started running Arduin, his own version of D&D, and then he started going off on his own with different things, being very, very creative. So the Arduin Grimoire was published 1977, 3 years after Dungeons and Dragons in 1974. He went on to do 2 more grimoires. So you had the trilogy, as it's called, 1 through 3 of the Arduin Grimoire. And then he made grimoires 4 through 8. And then the 9th Grimoire, which was End War, we produced the final book because unfortunately Dave Hargrave passed in 1988. He was in the industry probably a mere 13 years, maybe a little less. But what Dave did for the industry, most things, and I will say this, a lot of things sprung from Arduin. Arduin was the wellspring that a lot of the ideas that you see nowadays, the things that have been developed, they came from the ideas that Arduin were 40 years ago. And that's the honest truth. There was a lot. Dave Hargrave's world became known for what was called like West Coast gaming back in the day.
Right.
And where D&D with Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson, they took off to the more corporate level and became well known. Arduin was like the underground, was like the cool punk rock underground of the RPG industry, like you did, Glen, the West Coast, type of gaming. But a lot of what Arduin had, again, criticals, fumbles, gates and planes to other worlds, mixing sci-fi, fantasy, Western, historical, all types of races, having ogres, back in the day, Deodants, Franks, insect creatures, all types, centaurs. That was being done at the offset, at the brink of the RPG community of the beginning for all of RPGs with D&D and some of those other games that were there. So the history of Arduin is deep. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know Arduin. They've heard of it, but it's like a mythical thing out there. What is Arduin? And usually it's something that people say, oh, it's some gonzo thing back in the day, that was done. But it's a lot deeper than that. The ideas, yes, they were much gonzo-y, you want to call it. Gonzo. I hate to see that, gonzo. But what that meant was it was just more imaginative. It was more creative. That's what it really was. Because you didn't have systems way back then that mixed, where you could have a 45, you could have a RPG, you could have a tank in the game or battleships, and have all this mixed in with fantasy and all types of things. So it was very cutting edge for it. So the Arduin has been that. And again, a lot of ideas and concepts have been taken from Arduin and are still prevalent in the modern RPG industry.
I believe that I lost my train of thought. Never mind. I believe that Arduin was the first time. I mean, he threw the sci-fi in there.
Yes.
And that's the first time, people have done it. I mean, you look at Hyperborean stuff with the sci-fi, it's like, well, Dave did that a long time ago.
Yeah. He did sci-fi. He did historical. They'd have Western gunfighters, Glenn. They would throw in, just everything. Napoleonics. He was just anything that would mix and match. He would put in, or if players wanted to try something, oh, I want to play this, I want to play that. He would allow you to play it. This was way before anything. You couldn't play an ogre. You couldn't play a troll. You couldn't play a Sarig, which is like, again, the lizard man. Became the lizard man, or the Frank, the insect war. You couldn't. And all of a sudden, he put it together and made it work. He made it work with high-tech weapons. It's amazing because it's easy to look at it now and go, well, that's not, it's done now. But 40 years ago, if there was no ground, no foundation to build that. And again, criticals, fumbles, and we've made sure to look at this. He was the first with criticals and fumbles. D&D did come out with criticals and fumbles, but that was in 1980 in one of the dragons. So it was 3 years after the fact where Dave had come out with all the initial ones. And he had a player, Dr. Voorhees was an actual doctor that wrote up the effects, of getting your spine cut or losing an eye and the ramifications. Oh, yeah. So there was a lot there. And I know I'm going down the rabbit hole a little, but just to expand a little more, when people say, well, what other impact? Well, let me tell you this. A lot of artists had their beginning traces with Arduin. I can tell you Roland Brown, Greg Espinozo, Michio Okamura, who did Diablo. He was the art director for the first Diablo, gave a thank you to Dave Hargrave and Arduin because that's where he started his art. Oh, and by the way, and there was others, Morno and a couple others that did artwork that started with Dave Hargrave. And here's the big one that I know everyone's going to know. Earl Otis, he started his initial artwork in the RPG industry with Dave Hargrave. You look at those Arduin grimoires, you will see Earl Otis all his beginning. He even did the first edition cover of the Arduin grimoires, Earl Otis.
Wow.
Holy crap.
Yeah, he did. A lot of people don't know that, Eric. They just don't know it. But it stemmed from there. Chaosium and RuneQuest. Greg Stafford, who initiated the company in RuneQuest, guess whose table he sat at and who he came from was Dave Hargrave. And actually, a little side story, he wanted to use Arduin as for RuneQuest. But unfortunately, they had a large falling out, and that never happened. And Gary Gygax and Dave Hargrave sued each other. And part of it was over, of all things, prismatic walls. And I
think I remember reading something about that. Yes.
Yeah. It's really weird. Of all things, they sued each other on that. But there was.
I think it was more, but then they, when it came down to saying, what is the more? Then from what I understand, they just said, well, the prismatic walls, because there really wasn't.
Yeah. But it's interesting. But they sued each other. They settled, and then it continued from there. So Arduin, and I hope you guys don't mind. I'm just kind of. So Arduin went from that. Dave Hargrave, like I said, he passed in '88. Before he passed, he was trying to develop a new system. He came out with Arduin Adventure, which was like a basic set before that in the early 80s. It was kind of mimicked like what D&D was doing, a basic book, an introductory game. It was called the Arduin Adventure. And then he was working on Arduin 2, but he wanted to do something beyond that called Arduin Bloody Arduin, was going to be his magnus opus, his final version of Arduin. He passed away during the completion of Arduin 2, Complete Arduin. So Mark Scheinert, Jim Mathis from Grimoire Games, they did Complete Arduin. Unfortunately, it came out in the early 90s, just when Magic the Gathering and card games decided they were going to creep in and start dominating everything. So unfortunately, that didn't go well. Fast forward, we actually produced Arduin Eternal, and I'll tell a little bit of the story how we got it. And that was a very percentile-based system, very crunchy, and it obviously didn't go anywhere. And we've taken that out of print along with Arduin 2, and I'll explain that later why we did that. But for us, we became a company in 1998. We were selling games, and then we went into miniatures. Dave happened to go to Chessex, who was a distributor at that time, still is. I think they're still around. He found casting equipment, and they had molds, old Archive molds. Archive was a company by Neville Stockton, who was a friend of Dave Hargrave, and they did all the miniatures for Arduin and other games. So Dave made a deal, purchased it. We got casting equipment, a vulcanizer, all these molds, and we started going at it. And when we saw that they were Arduin miniatures, we're like, why don't we go get something? Well, I wonder whatever happened to Arduin, because we've never hear about it anymore. It's like disappeared. So Dave did some investigation. Within about a month, he found where Jim Mathis was in California. And a couple months later, we had the agreement done, and boom, we were the proud new owners of the Arduin role-play game and that material. So we've taken it. We have gathered as much of Dave Hargrave's original material as we can find. His maps, his dungeon, his cards. We have quite a bit of material that we have gathered of original maps, thousands of item cards, dungeons, a plethora of dungeons that we have. And it's amazing how much material, and you see just the published material. I can't imagine what this guy could have done if he would have been living another 20, 30 years, how much material. But the material is unbelievable. The stories we get, we understand that Dave is an outlet would take great pieces of graph paper, and in 2 hours, he would pen a whole dungeon and descriptions and monsters. He would just boom, 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 boom. It was like a creative outlet for him. But those are the stories we were told. So that's kind of a capsule history of everything. And like I said, Dave and I, we got Arduin back in the day. We've been around about, believe it or not, 24 years. And 2014, unfortunately, Dave's father and mother passed away. My father passed away. My mother caught cancer. And we just got decimated quickly within a year of all these things with our family. So we went into hibernation for 7 years. And then in 2021, Dave retired. I got it pointing this way. There he is. And then he came to me and said, George, why don't we get going on the company again? I was like, okay, are you sure? So we started up the company. And, you know, we got back into getting into Arduin and getting the miniatures going, getting all the reprints of all the original books. And just a real quick funny story, and I know I've been going on for 15 minutes here.
It's okay.
Dave and I still remember this day. We were down there planning what we're going to do. We're in the bunker, as we call it, at Dave's house. And I'm online, you know, we're looking at things. And I just put up a post like the day before or something. And I'm like, I just came across YouTube and I'm like, what the heck? And I'm Dave, who the heck is this guy? And there was this gentleman who took my post that I posted about Arduin as my opening post that we're back. And he's like, there's news about Arduin out of nowhere. And that's,
that might have been me.
The first time I was wondering if you were going to remember that, Eric. It was Eric who did a post about my post. And he was breaking it down. And I'm looking at, I had no idea who he was, Glenn. I'm looking at Dave and I'm like, who the heck is this guy? What is he doing? And we're like, I don't know what he's saying, you know. And we weren't used to, we'd been so much out of the industry. This was all brand new to us. But that's
this guy here, you cannot, if it's gaming, he'll find out about it.
Yeah. That's how we got into contact with Eric, because I had just put a post saying, hey, we're coming back. We're doing this, and then, you know, from there, and that's how we first met Eric. But it was funny because there we are in the beta, and we're looking at the video and going, who is this guy? What are they doing? What, you know, what's this, you know, video on YouTube? You know, we never saw that 20 years ago. It didn't exist, you know, for us.
Oh no, it's just certainly how things. Listen, even from I don't know, Glenn, what 10 years ago when we were doing podcasts together.
Yeah.
The way things have moved and changed, and what I love about the ability to do a YouTube channel is that I can do pre-recorded stuff and I can do regular live streams and have an interactive audience going, have people bounce questions off you, and folks, just I've said this before and I'll say it again. Tell you how the sausage is made prior to the show. We're just bullshitting. All right, we're not going over questions. We're not going over. We got to hit this point and this point, and here's the order. There's none of that.
Yeah, none of that.
The pre-show jitters out of us.
It's like, what did you do today? You go to the doctor. I make cookies. You're drinking what?
Yes.
You know, that's all that we're talking about.
Yeah, you know, because the fact that we can do this live stream. And the fact that, hey, this is the tavern, right? So it should make it feel like you're sitting at your local pub talking, hey, look, these are the guys that have the Arduin IP and the lore and the love for it. And they happen to walk into my local neighborhood bar and I get to sit down and talk with them. How often do you get that? And that is the joy of these live streams, whether it's here or Rumble or Twitter or wherever.
When you sent all the Arduin stuff to me and I started reading the trilogy, I was amused, and this is not going anything against Dave or the company, but I was amused that you gave me all these different races to play and classes to play, and yet there's one page in there saying, I don't really think martial arts belong in this game, but here's martial arts. He took everything else, but he didn't want martial arts.
Yeah, here's your 12-pounder cannon. Here's your space rifle.
Yeah, here's your M60 machine gun.
Yeah.
You know, No, it like I said, it's unbelievable. Just the amount of material and Eric, to your point, absolutely. We feel so much in tune now with things. You make it comfortable. I remember the first live stream we did 2 years ago, and we were nervous. We were nervous.
Oh, yeah.
Like we've this was brand new to us. It's like, oh my God, how do we handle this? Are we going to be okay? And then you eased our minds and said, no, it's okay. You'll come in early. We'll relax, get the jitters out. And you said, no, there's no questions. And that's the truth, everybody. It's just very easy. You just ease into it and you come out.
If you're a player or a DM that likes a sandbox or a hex scroll, that's what this channel is about. All right. Yeah. I mean, even when I do my pre-recorded videos, I don't have a script. I don't have anything written down in front of me more than half the time. I'm usually just playing it because that's how I run my games 9 times out of 10. That, I believe, is pretty much, if you read Dave's work, you get the feeling that he wasn't going to run a session and say, hey, well, it's all pre-written. I got to keep it as written. No, he has so much in there in his books to make you an improv style GM because he's giving you the tools. He used those tools. He's not just, and from my talking with George over the years, I know that we've seen, I don't know, less than 5% probably of some of the material that Dave did, especially his dungeons and his maps and stuff. We haven't seen this stuff yet. This stuff is still literally in the archives, waiting to come out and see the light of day. So
I've been telling people that if you want this stuff, I told them only Ed Greenwood has written more. He's like right under Ed Greenwood for the volume of stuff that I have seen and you told me about. You're buried in it, basically.
It's like I said, it's amazing the amount of material. It is amazing. Again, it's unfortunate because we don't have. I wish to God we had more of his full material. But the guy was he was one of those geniuses. Now the organizational skills, might be lacking. He wasn't. This is a thought we had: is how unfortunate. Could you imagine a team of Gary Gygax who had the organizational, had that power, Dave Arneson with his creativity, and then Dave Hargrave? Could you imagine the Trinity? I'm going to call it the Trinity. Could you imagine what that team could have done? And they would have went places 20 years before anybody would have gone to anything. They would have.
Yeah, and I think
you get Judges Guild to publish it.
From what I know of Dave Arneson, when he submitted his notes for Blackmore, Blackmarsh. No, Blackmore.
You're right, Blackmore.
I corrected myself to make myself wrong. That's always a good one. When he submitted his stuff, it was like a manila envelope of poof, nothing organized, just random shit. Now, Hargrave, to me, from what I've seen of his work, was certainly an idea guy like Arneson, but a bit more organized, maybe a bit more scattershot, because obviously his enjoyment of science fiction and history and fantasy, he mingled it all together. I mean, it was probably the inspiration for Palladium's riffs in the 90s because it meshes and melds so much different stuff together. But I whenever I look back at Arduin, and I was doing a series of videos on Arduin.
Yeah.
When I started this stuff, I need to go back and start looking at it because it's just Arduin. The early Arduin books to me are very much like the first edition DMG. You go back, you reread it, and you go, "How did I miss that before? Yeah, I don't remember that." But holy shit, that is like almost like mind blowing in what I missed because you're presented with so much in that space, and I think Dave did a lot of that too. The first three of the trilogy are so packed with it kind of seems scattershot, but isn't, this is what was probably driving him at that moment. I would guess that Dave was somebody who wrote what was passionate to him at that moment. There are some authors or writers of gaming material sit down and go, "Oh, I need to write X," and I think Dave, based upon his work that I've read, sat down and said, "All right, what am I writing? What's driving me now?" And I think you get the scattershot, but you also get the genius that way. I think that it works well together.
You should see some of his other stuff, the non-Arduin stuff. I mean, there's a whole continent that he did of a fantasy ancients game, and it was all done play by mail.
Really?
And then there were detailed tactical maps that went with it, with full orders.
Yeah, he was into different war games too.
He was in the naval war game miniatures a lot, from what we heard.
Correct.
Yeah, he's an old school. Yep.
And we do have, in our possession, we have some old tapes, 8-track tapes, where he speaks with Neville Stockton, and they talk about Star Rovers, which was the old game based on Arduin sci-fi that Neville Stockton did. And my God, the wisdom we even get out of there, because thank God he dives into a couple things about criticals and how his thought process when he developed the critical charts and armor and stuff. But it was amazing how much you'd be involved in. And he's telling them how, shields work and how do you do space combat? How do you do the ratings of pilots? How this works, how this interacts, and how game design, you don't want to be overburdened with this. And it's amazing when you look at all those things in the past, and like you said, Eric, you could read it over and over and you always find something more or something new. And I remember when you did that. Yeah. And when you did that series, I remember certain topics where he talks about how to be a game master or how to handle players or how to introduce more different players. And you were like, my God, this is relevant right now because some of the things happening in the industry, it was relevant when what he was talking about to now, which is amazing because a lot of people have this idea that these things didn't exist back then, or they didn't think like that, or they didn't have this, and they're absolutely wrong. They were already there, already there, even with things about interactions with people and players and how to do games, with different groups and different players, how to handle troublesome players. I mean, he had all types of things that, like you said, Eric, that would be like, oh, this is good, but it was passion. Like you said, it wasn't just, okay, I'm going to do X to Y to this. It was just, I'm going to let it flow. I'm going to write what I think and put it out there. That was Dave.
I think RPG Grandma, she said he had abundant subject syndrome, which means lots of ideas, research in the moment, and projects because his mind is always going. Grasshopper mind genius.
Yes.
Yeah, great way to say it.
Yeah. No. That's great.
No, that sums it up completely right there. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. With the things he did. So, well, hopefully that answered what was Arduin.
Thank you. So, first thing, what's coming?
What's coming? All right. Okay, so we've on the timetable here and everything of what we're doing in the next, hopefully been doing for 2.5 years, and now are gearing up to do. For Arduin Bloody Arduin, just some of the basics of that. It's what we have planned right now is a 3-book set, like a trilogy, just like Hargrave's original. We're looking at a player's grimoire, a game master grimoire, and a monster grimoire. They have a 3-book set for Arduin Bloody Arduin. In addition, we're looking at a GM screen that we want to do to go along with it, of course. And then possibility of the cards, that's another thing. Dave Hargrave, just as a quick side note, I believe was one of the first to do item cards, monster cards. He did that right at the beginning, pretty much right when he did the trilogies. So we're looking at cards. We're not sure if it'll happen in the very first with the core books, but it may or may not. We're looking into what we can do. But we want to produce the cards again. We do have them available, but we're looking to do a much better quality cards, so to speak, a very modernized type of cards. In addition, the core books, people talk about this. We're not a big fan of, I know a lot of systems do that, new edition, 15 handbooks to go with the 3 books. It's just this scope of ridiculousness, to be honest. And I know here we are, a company saying this. With the 3 core books, that's all you need to play the game. You don't need anything else. We might come out with one more core book, but it's more like an unearthed arcana. It's going to have some of the races, a few classes that we couldn't fit, some of the races that we couldn't fit in, and it might have some other material to fill out what you need in the game. But it's all optional. It's nothing. If you don't have it, you could play the game with the 3 core books. You have everything you need. We're not looking to do 10 additional books to supplement. So maybe one more book that you could consider maybe a core book because it supplements and helps.
And it's all compatible with all the Hardgrave stuff you've already put out, right?
Arduin Bloody Arduin, and I'll get back to what. And yes, it is based on the original 1 through 9 grimoires, and the original 3 are really the basis. So it is, it is a D20 based. And what I had said before about Arduin 2 and Arduin 3, we took both of them within the last year out of print, out of stock. We even took them out of Amazon. We took money out of our pockets and took those out. Why did we do that? There is not obviously a lot of players playing those at all. Very, very minimal. And what we want to do is consolidate. So the old grimoires, all the original material will always be available. The dungeons and Vaults of the Weaver, all that, the card sets, the way they were, all of that's available. But when we come out with Arduin Bloody Arduin, 1 edition, 1 set of rules. We don't have any edition wars, or we're not a flavor of a flavor and then get into all that. So we've pulled that to consolidate the fan base, to consolidate the direction of the company. So that's the reason. And Arduin Bloody Arduin, Arduin 2 was percentile, and Arduin Eternal was percentile, and that had much, much more. It was very skill-heavy based, and Arduin 2 was going in that direction also. It had a lot of mechanics in there, so to speak, a lot of crunch, and Arduin Eternal took it to 10 times that amount. So we've gone back to more of a D20-based original Arduin grimoire. That's the basis of Arduin Bloody Arduin. And once the system comes out, and I'm going to get back to Arduin Bloody Arduin, I'm going to get into it about what we're doing and developing. But in addition, we plan to do the world of Arduin. Obviously, we're going to start off with Arduin and then some other countries. We may even do another continent in the world. There's also the underground of Arduin, which the Great Worm Road is the Arduin underground, which again existed 40 years ago. So sometimes I wonder about that too. And the hells of Arduin and the planes and all the different connections. Shadowlands, which is a particular area and another plane or planet that's in Arduin. There's so much that we can expand, but we're going to do gazetteers. So what that does is we're going to flush out the world, the countries, but we're going to make it so it's modular, that if you want to grab the country Arduin and pop it into your world, you can. So we're going to make this, and the system will be like that too, where obviously we want you to use our game, play Arduin, play Arduin, but in the same token, take the bits and pieces you want. Since it's D20 based, and I'll explain it when I explain the basics of some of the system, you're going to be able to port it directly. If you play D&D, Castles, Crusades, Swords and Wizards, whatever game, whatever flavor, BX, Old School Essentials, Pathfinder, anything, you can port in what you want. So we're kind of being conscious of that, not to make it so far out that trying to convert it is going to be a nightmare for some.
That's awesome.
That's the key.
Exactly. And one other thing about the direction of things we're going to do, we've had some people asking about what about the old grimoires? We want to see reprints of the originals the way they were. We did the hardcore, the trilogy. I know both of you have, and a lot of people appreciate it because the bigger print and everything.
Oh,
But
thank God.
yeah, people are asking for like original reprints of everything, even the modules the way we are. To let everyone know, and we did talk about this the other night, we do have plans possibly in the future to do reprints of all the original books and dungeons as is. They would be reprinted word for word, exactly like the originals. And or we're thinking of doing a combined 1 through 9 organized, put together, bigger font so all of us can read here
There we go.
on the live stream without a problem. And we've had people liking the idea of both, some like one or the other. But that's going to be based in the future on resources, time, and money. But it is, let everybody know, and I'm sure most people know, we do have that in the works. And we've actually investigated some things like how would it cost? How would we do this? But to honor the past. But we still have the reprints now, but people want that, just so you know, the combined or the original. So that's 2 more things. So that kind of gives you a roadmap so far of what the next few years, the direction for Arduin, Bloody Arduin is. And other than that, I don't know, Glenn, if you want me to, or Eric, I can talk a little bit about the system. It's up to you, or if you want any
That
more.
would be hey, if you can sell them on it, great. That'd be great.
By the way, Matthew Melman says he likes the idea of the iconic covers, but the text inside, do as you will. And I know, that is almost like a compromise to, again, I think many of us, I can go to my, I keep all my undersized, digest-sized books in an oversized drawer, neatly stacked. And I'll go in there every once in a while, and I'll be looking at my Arduin stuff, and the covers are very atmospheric. They talk about, you look at it, it's Arduin. I think if you were going to reprint, even if you're doing new layout, I think somehow integrating those covers either on the cover or within each section, like you're getting, all right, well, here we are in the third part. If you're doing all 9, each one has its original cover. That would be nice.
Yeah, no, and you know what's funny, Eric? We've talked about that, and actually, when we did the trilogy, you'll notice some of those are in there. We did actually put a few of the covers.
Okay.
They are in there, right, Dave? Some of the original covers, from what I remember.
I think they were in the parchment version that we had to pull because there was
okay.
quality issues. So
Okay.
They're in the red version.
Okay. But and I see some of the questions there, like Matt and some of the other, John with, buy the original reprints.
Yeah.
We and like Matt said, the cover's great, but the inside, do what you wish. That's the trepidation we have, is because we have people wanting, well, I want this, but I want this. So, and then us, that we want to please everyone. We want to do both. But the problem is to be honest, it is an investment in time, energy, and money.
Oh, yeah.
To do both. It's more work than you think trying to put
time is really
together.
the real killer.
Yeah.
By the way,
The first book had 3 different covers.
Oh,
yeah, that's true too.
It had the Aero Lotus, then it had the Espinosa cover, then it had the other Espinosa cover.
Correct.
Which was, a bikini put on versus not.
Yeah, Greg Espinosa, there was an Amazon warrior, and on the first edition, she was topless. And then they got a whole bunch of flack on the back cover, mind you, not the front, on the back. And they got a bunch of flack, so he had to put a black bikini on her to cover it up.
Flint, I understand. Well, I'm a super backer on Kickstarter. I always turn around before I say it's over 600 Kickstarters I've backed over the years. So, just saying, I understand the burnout. I'm getting to that point, or if I haven't gotten to it already. The whole pay today, get your stuff in 2 years. 6-state Invincible Overlord, we're looking at 10 years. I understand that. The gentleman on the screen in front of you plan on having not everything just laid out and ready to go to print. They plan on having what is it, 90, 100%, everything ready to go when a Kickstarter is going?
I'm glad Flint brought this up, and I'm going to say it, and it's something I mentioned before. We're going to talk about it a little later in the show, but our philosophy with Kickstarter is a lot different. If we do a Kickstarter, we're going to guarantee you the product, and I will guarantee you this: you're not going to wait a year. You're not going to wait 6 months. You're going to wait a lot less. We believe in immediate fulfillment on Kickstarters, and that's Emperor's Choice. We believe if you believe in your product, to me, and I'm not trying to be insulting to people, but you believe in your product, put your money where your mouth is. Then put it up and go for it. Yep. You're taking a large risk, but go for it. That's what we believe in. We believe so much in what we're doing, and it's a labor of love. You know, what's that old saying for the industry? If you want to have a small fortune in the game industry, make sure you start with a large fortune.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the truth. But you're absolutely right, Eric and Glenn. We plan to fulfill immediately when we do a Kickstarter. And if we watch a Kickstarter and find that we're going to run out, we will immediately make plans to do a restock or to get more material to fill the orders.
As far as Kickstarter, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying our company fully believes in that. I don't believe in waiting for a year. I'm just going to say this. I think it's dangerous. Now, you don't get burnt all the time, but I don't know how, God forbid, some of these companies take all this money and then say, yeah, in about a year or two, we'll be ready. You don't know what's going to happen in 6 months, 8 months, a year. God knows things happen, life happens. Your company, you could lose people, you lose main people, and my God, you're stuck. So we don't want to be in that position. We want to be able to, that's why 2.5 years in development, probably 1 more year. The Kickstarter for Arduin, Bloody Arduin, will be 2025. We're taking the time, we're pushing like hell, but we want to do it right, and we want to have everything ready when we go to do it, you know? So then when you buy it and you get it, you're going to get it, Flint, immediately. As soon as we're done, we verify all the addresses and the payments. You see these two guys here? They're going to be burning the midnight oil probably for a week or so. The neighbors are going to be like, what are those two doing there? You know, packing, and they're here, and, you know, but we're going to do it. And that's how we feel. You know,
okay, I got a question about Kickstarter. How do you guys feel about, stretch goals? Because that can make or break sometimes.
Yeah. We like the idea of a few, but probably not going overboard. You know, we feel more give the majority, you know, to the customer of what they're going to buy. Maybe a couple stretch goals.
I'm not a big fan of the specific, like, you backed on Kickstarter, so you get a special prize that nobody else can ever get again. You know, I get the allure. You know, you're getting a special figure or something, limited edition, but I mean, we're a really small company, so anything that we do, we're going to probably want to have available also.
Right.
Correct.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, honestly, when it comes to especially physical Kickstarter stretch goals, you got to bake that cost into the initial Kickstarter, because you have to have it planned for. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but at least you bake those costs in. Well, if you're doing companies that do like stretch goals in PDF, their cost is man hours, layout, but it's cost that is physical product. Once you're doing physical product, they have to bake that cost in and already have it. So I know we had Scott Swift on a week and a half ago. On a Wednesday night, and Scott's doing an MCC RPG adventure. He has stretch goals, but he was honest though. He goes, "Listen, this is going to be in print and PDF, and since I'm printing it, it's already laid out. So if we don't hit all the stretch goals, they'll all be in it anyway." You know, it's like, because you have, if you're going to do it right, you've got to prepare for that. I've seen them over the years where, you know, when you start making stretch goals to be, and if we hit 20,000, everybody who supported for 10,000 gets a free mug or a free. You're. I don't care what your pricing on that is. Firstly, if you're doing a book, you've gone now from media mail to losing media mail.
And please, for God's sake, no miniatures.
You guys are miniatures guys.
I'm not saying don't sell them, but just I've seen that kill more Kickstarters putting miniatures in the stretch goals.
Correct.
Yeah, well, the one that George is going to announce upcoming is going to be strictly maps. And miniatures, we might just start trickling them out now as far as not Kickstarter, just getting them out there as fast.
That's cool.
We're just waiting for the weather to get better so we can get out there and make some more molds. I mean, Iron Wind was doing us a favor, and they made up a bunch of molds for us.
Yeah. And don't worry, Glenn, the miniatures are more going to be direct because we're not going to have them. We have no plans to have them as part of any of the Kickstarters.
It's hard unless you got 80 miniatures to come out with. I mean, these guys are coming out with 150 minis in the Kickstarter. We're going to a couple of them.
Right. And the point of the Kickstarter is miniatures, well, like, go ahead. Like Reaper does that all the time. But as an extra, I've never seen it work very well.
Yeah. And like I said, we're not going to do very many stretch goals. We'll keep it to a minimum because you're right. Like you said, Eric, too, you could overextend yourself. If you have too much product in there, then again, it can fall apart. Like I said, you don't know what's going to happen. And all of a sudden you've promised 5-6 stretch goals. And all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I'm choking. I can't do this because of the cost or the printer or, what I was going to have developed this isn't available anymore. Something happens. That's what I mean. You just put yourself in jeopardy. The longer it goes, the longer out. And how
I thought the best way to do stretch goals is if you've already done a couple of Kickstarters and you got product out there. And then on the next Kickstarter, you say, okay, for a stretch goal, if you want, we can put up our previous product for people who didn't get it because you probably already got it in stock. So that would work. But that's the only, that's a smart way to do it anyway.
Correct. No, absolutely. 100% with what you guys are saying. Absolutely. But like I said, we're going to look at things. We'll do a couple things, but we're not, especially with our first Kickstarter, it won't be a large, so to speak. We're going to keep the cost relatively very low for people so that we're going to give them a lot. That's just how we are.
Well, I know that.
You know that, Eric. You've called us crazy before. When we give away, it's like, the Arduin guys, they're crazy. I remember you said it over OSR Christmas. They'll ship wherever. It doesn't matter. They don't care.
They'll ship back to China if they want.
I call it as I see it. And listen, when I call you guys crazy, it's a good crazy.
Yeah, no, I know. We take it as a compliment.
It's just that there are people who go, well, that goes against common business sense. But I mean, when you do something because you love the IP, you love what you're doing, I think the motivation's a little bit different than if you're like, I'm not going to be able to put food on my table if I don't sell XYZ. Right. There's a difference to it. I mean, again, it's the reason why I'm happily retired with a decent pension from the NYPD. I can do what I do and not be like, I need to get sponsorship. I need to get somebody on the bottom of the screen scrolling throughout, paying me money for it. Everything that scrolls on the bottom of the screen is because it's something that I like, or these are my guests, or whatever. I can be honest and give my true opinions because I'm not beholden to a paycheck from somebody. These guys do what they do with Emperor's Choice and the Arduin IP because they love the IP and they respect it. And that's something that you don't necessarily see with other publishers. Not saying that they don't respect the IPs they're working with, but their motivation isn't just what's best for the IP and best for my customer base. The motivation is, rightfully so, I've got to put food on my table for me, and they're large enough for my staff. So different goals, and I really appreciate it when a company's goal is I want to put out the best product and make this IP shine, and profits are important, but they're not priority number one.
Correct.
I think I covered that pretty well.
Okay. You guys want to dive into the system?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about it.
You want to?
No, you look at me like you get ready to punch me. You really wanna?
Well, it always gets contentious when you talk system, because then it's, half the crowd's going to be happy and the other half's not going to be happy. So it all depends.
Yeah, everybody has their flavor.
Yeah, everybody has their flavor. But Arduin, Bloody Arduin. Okay, what is Arduin, Bloody Arduin going to be? All right. Again, it's based off of the original grimoires from Dave Hargrave, the books 1 through 3 specifically, and then 4 through 9. Is what the basis is. It's a D20 combat based, just so everybody knows, and it's not as simple as maybe first edition. What I would say is a few tiers above first edition. And what I mean by that is it's not simple, but it's not Pathfinder. It's not Shadowrun. It doesn't go into that other level, RuneQuest, and I'm just throwing some other games.
Right.
And this is nothing against any games people play or other companies. That's great. I'm just giving it kind of what we are. We're kind of a middle road where we want to keep it simple, where it's more old school, but it has some meat to the bones where the character races, the classes give you enough to give you some options and give you some flavor, but it doesn't go crazy. It doesn't go absolutely crazy. So that's kind of the basic of it. And the reason we went that way, and we're trying to keep it simple, is we're very cognizant of like rules creep to keep things simple, but like I said, with enough on the bones. Certain things, and I've talked about this, when we looked at it from the old books, like the armor and weapon stuff, the plus, I get a +2 if I'm using a pole arm versus chainmail, or Dave Hargrave went crazy with the weapon values and said he had 12 different columns where the broadsword does a D4 versus this hit die a creature, does a D6 here or 2. Oh yeah, if you look in the books, Glenn, if you look at them, he had 12. He took the D&D stuff and he expanded it out to 12 different values based on hit dice of a creature, and then all the bonuses and minuses. We didn't import that, and the reason we didn't, and I want to explain it, is that was one of the gives where we wanted to keep it simple. And when I talk about rules creep, here's what happens when you try to get too detailed, too specific. Well, okay, so a pole arm is +2 against chainmail. Okay, then what is the dragon's claw? What type of bonus does the dragon claw get against chainmail or leather? Or the black scorpion pincer, what does that do against certain types of armor? What about the wolf? The wolf that bites, what's its bonus versus certain armor types?
Or what's the wolf's armor type, right? What's the giant's armor type?
Exactly. So
that's where AD&D 1E broke down, and nobody knew those rules.
Exactly. How about this is Arduin. How about a laser gun? How about power armor? How does a pole arm go against power, like a space marine power? You see what I'm saying? The problem when we analyzed it was it breaks down, causes more administrative work. And look, if you use it, that's great. Knock yourself out. But when we looked at it, we're like, it's too much rules creep. Because if you go to that level, everything has to be at that level. Or else, like you said, Eric, it breaks down. So I'm just giving an example that there were things we had to leave behind because it was like, it's not streamlined. It's crunching for no purpose other than to delay and crunch.
Yeah.
And then it's going to break down.
It gives me Rollmaster vibes.
Yeah.
Love me Rollmaster.
Yeah. And we used to play Rollmaster with Arduin, by the way.
Really?
We used to do that. Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. And that was heavy crunch and a lot. But I just wanted to give an example when I'm talking about rules creep and trying to keep things simple where you don't go overboard. So that's just one of the concepts overall. The other thing is with Arduin, we do the races give you your hit points. We do racial hit points, and your race determines your stats, or what we call factors. And what that means is in D&D, you roll 3d6. Arduin does it different. It's out there. If you're like a wood elf, you may roll a d8 plus 8 for your, what we have, coordination factor, but dexterity. So each race has a specific roll, a die and a roll, to its stat or factor, as I'm calling it. And in our game, your hit points are generally 90%, 95% of your hit points are based on your race. So that elf might have 35, 40 hit points. The class will add in a little bit. And guess what, gentlemen? You have 40 hit points as an elven warrior. You've got 40 hit points. You have 40 hit points forever. There is no increase in hit points. You'll be astonished how different the game plays when you put that into it. It's like, for people, it's like, what? Boom.
Well,
that's
Again, this is the middle road. Let me explain something when I say the middle road. And again, whatever game you play, that's great. But for us, what does that mean for our game? You are not old school, where you have 5 hit points, stuff like that, and you could die by being blown over. But in the same token, you're not a fantasy superhero with like a lot of modern games where you pretty much just make it a superhero game because that's all that matters. So just wanted to say that's kind of the gist of where we're going again, and it's Arduin. It's always been
very much like Mutant Future. You get a hit die for every point of Constitution. Everybody's going, whoa, all these hit points. I said, number one, you're not going to get any more. And number two, have you seen the hit dice on these creatures? You're going to need them. And that's the way I feel with, where you're going with this. Because, like you said, they only get 40 hit points. Boom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a different way. Our game, Arduin Bloody Arduin, is going to be different. So, and it's not going to be so different that it's hitting you like with some weird mechanic. You're not going to be hit by something that is going to be weird. Like, we're not going to throw some weird, like you roll 2 12-sided dice and a 6-sided dice, and this does this. We're going to keep it where it's familiar. It's very familiar, very compatible to whatever you've done before. So I want to stress that,
Good.
Which is why it's pretty much compatible with the first trilogy, at least.
Yeah. And since it's compatible, and I know you brought this up, Glenn, with the trilogy, guess what else it's compatible with? It's compatible with 95% of the market. Why? Because it's D&D, Pathfinder, Tales of the Valiant. It's every flavor of D&D, Crusades, Swords and Wizardry, whatever, Labyrinth Lord. I know I'm missing some old school essentials. It's going to be compatible because it's using some of the same exact mechanics, because that was what Arduin was. Good. So you have that crossover, or if you need to convert it, if Eric's using Swords and Wizardry, he can convert some pieces that he needs, throw a couple air sharks at the party, see how they think about that, or Glen, or in a game, you can take creatures. So again, we've thought about that too. It goes back to what I said. If you want to take bits and pieces, you might say, I like that idea. Let me bring that into my game. I might not use the whole thing, but I'm going to use this or that. And we're fine with that, because we feel the more people look at it, they're going to say, what the heck? Why don't I just play let me just try the system and go for it. So that's a way I think we can draw people in too. So it's a thought.
Oh, hell yeah.
To do it like that.
If we can get those 5e guys over, that'd be great.
Well, it's a different mentality for the 5e crowd to understand, because it is old school. It is still, Arduin is still, the old school system. It's still that feel, but it has some of the modern elements. I mean, they'll love the idea of having so many hit points, but they're probably not going to like it when, I'm 10th level and I haven't gained a hit point, so that's where they're going to, have to kind of deal with. You have to play. You have to. What's funny is you give players a chance to become more experienced in the game and to play it, to become better as a player and to run your character better. And we think that's a neat feature, for the game to be and to have. And again, it makes Arduin Bloody Arduin its own middle ground, its own different system. And again, I know both of you have heard me say that we're not a retro clone. We're not OGL. We're nothing. We're not ORC. We're nothing. None of those. Arduin is its own 2 feet, which that's our way of honoring Dave too. Arduin and Bloody Arduin is going to be the system he wanted to do his final, his magnus opus, I would say. And we're honoring that by creating that for him and making it Arduin.
Well, from my experience of 5e players, there are a lot of them who won't touch the old school, but I've run into just as many 5e players who, when they try this stuff, they love it.
Oh yeah,
you guys going to get I think you guys are going to get a lot of converts.
Yeah, I agree too. I think people, once they take a look, understand that, I think they will. People, like I said, I think they'll give it a chance, Glenn and Eric, and say, hey, let's give this a shot. Let's see how it feels and use it.
Right. I've seen a lot of converts at like North Texas. In fact, my theory on North Texas is they only have 5e games there. Is like the first one's free. Come on in and play this other game.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So it's like I said, it's Arduin is. I see what Dave did. OSA. It's for Arduin, it's old school Arduin, which can be old school anything, and that's how we feel. And that's another tag that we're using for Arduin. It's old school Arduin, old school anything. It's just, again, that's the nature of the beast.
Nothing wrong with that.
To that, factors, which are ability scores, they're going to be 1 to 30. Which, interesting enough, is what D&D in 3rd edition had and 5th edition. But guess what? Guess where 1 to 30 was? It was in Arduin 40 years ago. I know I keep sounding like a broken record, but that was Arduin, again, 40 years ago. And again, not trying to give away the farm here, but the stats, we have strength factor, health factor, coordination factor, reasoning factor, ego factor, and influence factor. 6 stats. And those are all Arduin, because Arduin, Dave Hargrave had 8 scores. He had 8 different abilities because he had like agility and dexterity, and he had ego and wisdom. But he was condensing down to coordination factor as combined, reasoning factor. So we took what he was building and completed his dream, what he wanted to do. So we went down to the 6 ability scores. And again, why did we do that too? A little bit behind the scenes, because guess what now, guys? What else uses 6 ability scores exactly like that? Oh yeah, that's right. 95% of the market, every D&D flavor uses that. So again,
it wasn't an easy choice either. I mean, it sounds like it was easy, but it took a very long discussion over months and months to come to that decision.
Oh yeah.
Correct. This was 2.5 years back and forth, analyzing, ripping apart the system, and we're still not done. It's been a lot of giving things up. I mean, we came up with different ideas. We had to give it up. When we talk about, rules creep, we looked at armor absorption. Like, how can we do armor absorption? We went down that road. We tested it. Guess what? We threw it out because we're like, yeah, okay, it's real, but it's too much administrative work. It causes its own problems with things. Again, you can't level everything out. Then everything needs, so the Sherman tank, how much does that absorb with its armor? How much does that wall absorb? So you really open up all these can of worms. So we're like, nope, we're going back to the basic. We're not going to do that just to keep the game
That's the
level.
way. That's what I felt. That's the way I felt about one magic resistance. You have to determine this for every single critter in the book.
Correct.
It just is. If I can throw out stuff that I don't need in a game, I will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, there's so many things, and there was a lot we went through. And like Dave said, it wasn't easy. We went back and forth. My God, it was unreal. As far as races, 25 races are we going to have in Arduin. So
Yeah, nice.
everything from elf, dwarf to there's wood elf, high elf. There's 3 centaurs, which were Arduin, Deodance, Fraints, Sawrigs. There's a swamp Sawrig, a desert Sawrig. Those are the lizard men. They're called Sawrigs in Arduin. We have Noblins. We have Thrunes, which are 4-armed warriors. There's no way half elves, half orc. You're going to have a nice selection to choose from of races in the game. So 25 off the bat. And also, we're going to have those additional races. Like I said, we couldn't fit everything in, or else we'd have 35 races. We just couldn't do that. We felt 25 gave everybody more than enough.
yeah, that's fine. I mean, Hyperborea does 26, so classes,
Wow.
so that works.
Yeah, we felt it was a good number to do that. And just so everybody knows, with our races, they're not equal. I'm just going to put that out there. A goblin race, which you can play, and they have their own little, abilities and deficiencies, as we call them, a little bit here and there, maybe 1 or 2, depends on the race, is not going to be the match of a Fraint insect warrior. Sorry, that's just the nature of the beast.
I don't want him to be. I don't want him to be balanced, because I'm the kind of guy who will go into a con and say, "Just hand me something to play."
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Noblin? Okay, fine, and I'll play it. I don't care if it has 2 hit points.
Yeah, there's an allure to playing a lot of the different races, and it makes it interesting. Even playing a human, because for some reason humans have been left in the dust too. And
make it more fun.
Yeah, humans we've put in there. The humans are playable in a race you want to play, and I'm not going to divulge more than that. But there are things in there with the races where even playing a goblin, Glen, or a small, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to try this. There are a couple neat things with them. So it isn't fully balanced, but you have some diversity in there. In abilities or things that the race gives you.
There's something from the class that will still make it unique, still make you want to play it.
It's a challenge.
Well, back in the '90s, when my group, when I was always the AD&D GM, but when my friend Dave would run, he would run other games, and he often liked to run Rifts. And Rifts is kind of like Arduin on speed, in that it's all over the place, and its power levels all over the place. And my fellow players always wanted to play like Glitter Boys, which are like mechs. From like Robotech, or Leyline Walkers, which are hugely powerful spellcasters. And I would be like, I'll take the Vagabond. The Vagabond. Like they did a homework time. No, there was a crazy class. I'll take the crazy. It's like, why? Because I'm looking to have fun when I play. I don't need to be powerful. I need to have a character that is different. Hey, listen, my Vagabond survived 4 sessions, which is amazing because he had absolutely damn nothing. But that was
somebody have a module called Tales of the Vagabond or something like that?
There was a game called Tales of the Vagabond.
The floating vagabond, yeah.
Tales of the Floating Vagabond. Yes. Well, I mean, I always took that as a challenge. Like, I don't need, give me a few good ability scores and give me a weak character class. I'll make it work. Give me a strong character class and some weak ability scores. I'll make it work. I don't need to be the superhero. I just need to be the survivor.
Correct. And it goes to that, Eric, where you can play some of the internal play testing we've had. You should see the combinations of classes and races people have played, and it's been fun. They've enjoyed them, and you don't feel like you're lesser than anybody else. You have your own uniqueness, which is cool.
There you go.
And that's what people want. They want that. And to that, talking about races, professions, we have 20 professions. And what I like to call is 20 professions plus 2, which is the Star Mage and the Rune Singer are also included in there. But there's a special way with them. Those are 2 of more of the powerful classes from Arduin. But a whole selection of classes. We have what we affectionately call the 4 food groups: Mage, Priest, Thief, and Warrior. And then you have all the subclasses from there. And again, like I said, old school, Eric and Glen, they're going to recognize this. It's going to talk to them very quickly. Oh, okay, I get it. 4 food groups. Our game is going to emphasize more team play. It's not about the one superhero who can do it all. That doesn't.
What's the level cap on it? On
100.
I'm out. No,
100.
There's no level cap.
100. Okay. All right. Let me say this, because now I'm going to have to explain it. I don't want to go too deep, but it's 1 to 100 because Arduin, if you look at Dave Hargrave's classes, always went from 1 to 1. And yes, we talked about this. We argued. We talked about it. We had crunched it down at times, Glenn, believe it or not. We're like, why don't we just crunch it down? It doesn't make sense. We ended up with 1 to 100. Yes. The levels, though, the way they work, high level hits at a certain point up there, not too crazy, but yes, a 40th level character is a high level character. So there's a range where the high level is a lot, but you have to see the totality. And again, I'm holding back here of how the game is, but yes, up to 100th level. Are you going to get there? Probably not, unless, my God, you've been playing for a long time, an awful long time.
I've been playing for 40 years, and it wasn't until a few years ago that I actually got a character in D&D up to 20th level. Never did it before.
Correct.
It was a 5e game, but it was like, wow, this is hard.
Yeah. I'd have to go into the totality of everything, which I can't, because
it's a little different.
Yeah, it's different, and I hope you guys appreciate. I probably talk too much, and I want to talk more. I want to give you everything, and I can't do that. I can't do that because there's too many people making games right now, to be honest. And I don't want to leave all our blood, sweat, and tears that we've worked.
No, but the thing to remember too is, even if there's 100 levels, it's a bit more granular than D&D because you're not. If you start out with 40 hit points at first level, at level 100, you've got 40 hit points. So
it's real good at protecting.
Unlike 5e with a power curve. Here, original and old school D&D games around here, 5e starts you over here. AD&D probably caps out somewhere around here, but 5e keeps on going. And it seems like Arduin, even if you have 100 granular levels, starts you out at a certain level, and and I'm just interpreting this, it is a very gradual power creep as opposed to the power creep of 5e. It's probably less of a power creep than even in games like OSE and AD&D 1E because you're not getting those hit point bumps. And I'm guessing damage will go up as your levels go up. So
I mean, we have certain other things. I mean, don't get me wrong, a character who's 20th level has a lot more capability, so to speak, than a first level.
Right.
But we have different things. Like I said, I can't get into everything because it's a totality of everything. It's just different. But what's funny is it's not 100% new because this was Arduin. Like I said, we took what the essence of Arduin. It's like these hidden gems that are in Arduin that have always been there for 40 years that have never been taken and put to the next level. The reason, and I don't mean to go into a tangent, that Arduin, we wanted to have its own system because we want to show these things and make it shine. All these gems that Arduin had ideas that never came to fruition because Arduin always was a tack on, a bolt on to D&D.
Right.
Never its own. Now that we're own, if we've made Arduin its own thing, now we can shine with this is what Arduin is. This is how Arduin goes. So we're real passionate about that, to shine on the things that were Arduin, to show this is Arduin. This is where all this came from. And this is how it's used. This is how you do it. And again, it's similar to all the D&D. It's going to be parallel. It's going to be similar, but it's going to be different. It's going to play different. And again, the same even with modern, because to tell you the truth, 3rd edition D&D, if people probably don't remember, Jonathan Tweet was the main designer for 3rd edition. Guess what he said? He said the coolest RPG book ever made was the original Arduin trilogy. And it was a large influence on 3rd edition, which is now Pathfinder. So another huge connection. I mean, what D&D book, if you remember the Game Master book for 3rd edition, what I have over here, they have rifles. They have high-tech weapons. Wonder where that came from. That never was in a D&D book before. They had Boot Hill, they had Gamma World, but never did they put it directly into one of their Game Master book and say this is part of the game. You know, so there's a lot of nuances when you read and connect the dots like, okay, that's where that came from. So I hope that I get what you guys are saying about the level. Down the road when we get closer, I'll be able to expand why, how we do that. But there's 100 levels, Glenn, but don't freak out. It's not,
I've been spoiled by Hyperborea, which caps out at 12. So
yeah. And
there's still 12 hit dice.
Yeah.
Again, so I mean, again, the fact that the hit points aren't scaling with level makes me think that level is less important than we traditionally look at it in old school, even new, or even current D&D. So I am very happy to wait and see how this plays out.
Yeah, absolutely.
This should be interesting.
And again, the concept of the hit points like that came directly in the Arduin Grimoire. I think it was 3 that had those. So this is direct Arduin. Again, nothing new. Like I said, I'm not going to go into it more because there's other things, but we are using that. That's one of the core mechanics that we feel from the Arduin Grimoire we're going to do. So it's we definitely are using it, 100% part of the game. And just so you know, with the classes, what we're going to call there's abilities and deficiencies. And what I mean, like deficiency, a mage trying to wear armor is going to have a problem. Okay. Yeah. But in Arduin, we do it different. You know, like I said, I don't want to get into it 100%, but you'll understand what I'm saying. But there are some deficiencies to the classes where you're a mage, you're meant to cast spells, you're not meant to be wearing armor and doing all that. It is not skill-based, obviously. If that's obvious, it's not a skill-based system, and it's not a feat-based system or a cheat-based system, as I'm calling it. So you don't have 600 feats or abilities and all this stuff. It doesn't go bonkers. Does not go anywhere near that.
My games like D&D, Hyperborea, whatever, use very heavily the secondary skills list from 1E. And we have a special way of doing that, which is if you think this is going to relate to your past and you can convince me of it, I'll give you pluses on it. But you got to convince me.
Correct. Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's just, again, a different way of thinking of everything, you know, of how you do things, you know. So and again, like Dave said, it's been 2.5 years of back and forth, talking to people, asking gamers, getting information, trying things ourselves, you know, and just going through. And we had to make certain decisions, and we're like, we don't want to go nuts. And I know what you're saying, Glenn. And we have abilities, so don't get me wrong. And again, without getting into it, we do have some of this stuff. So you do have some options. Don't get me wrong. But we didn't want to go crazy because we found out through a lot of research, there's analysis paralysis. People forget things. It just becomes a burden it becomes a massive burden, even on the player and the game master.
You overthink it.
It's too much. It's
Yep.
too much. Too much. You're not playing the game. You're playing the
system.
the character sheet, the system. You're not enjoying because you're trying to. Oh, can I? Like trees. There's no such thing as skill trees in our game. You don't
Good.
get this to get this to get that to get this prerequisite for this. That is administrative nightmare. That's disaster to us.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the magic system?
That was about the next thing I was going to get into a little bit about it. And just quick about combat, D20. Sure. There are crits and fumbles in our game for spells and for weapons. Mm-hmm. And experience points are done differently. Another thing from Dave Hargrave, which I'll have to expand on later, but for now I'm just going to say experience points are done differently. They're not done like the old school with the XP. But hold on, we have a whole thing to take care of stuff. But no more administrative work of millions, trying to calculate hundreds of thousands of XP. So we have another way to do it, Good. So, and again, it's from Hargrave. Another thing about combat, there are no death saves. There are no negative hit points. When you reach 0, you're dead. And then you're dead.
Go get raised. Yeah.
Yeah. So just again, very old school in that fashion. We don't do any of that. Magic. Magic is mana based in Arduin. So you have a pool of mana, which allows you to cast whatever spells you want, how you want. And when you run out of that, then you need to recharge. So we don't use spell slots. We don't do any of that. We have some subtleties in there, Glenn, some different things. But the spells, you can manipulate a little bit. And mana is the basis. And we use Order of Power, which was Hargrave. Order of Power, not spell levels.
Good.
And that's done differently, too. It's not, how can I say this? D&D was like spell levels 1 through 9. I noticed, like, is it Tales of the Valiant or what used to be Black Flag? They call them tiers now. They just renamed them instead of spell levels. They call them tiers, Eric.
Oh,
didn't you?
I didn't even pay attention to the latest.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I'm just. What I'm saying is, we didn't.
It's going to be less
just
traditional than.
I can't go any further, but I'm just going to say we didn't rename the levels or anything. But I can't expand on that. Again, I apologize. Here I am saying, I hate that I have to do this. Believe me.
It's nice you can manipulate the magic a little bit. People want to pump a little more mana into this so I can do something more spectacular.
We're gonna. I've said it before.
Yeah, I mean, Arduin's always had it, so.
Yeah, we're calling it augmentation. Arduin always had charging spells. You're going to be able to augment your spells in different ways. So yes, I have a pool of mana, and the flexibility you have is you can do different things. You can do different things with it. So it's different than the spell, slot theme and, doing it from old school. So it's a little, but it's not modern how they do it where you can use this higher spell slot again, the complexity, the just trying to track all that we felt was not worth it. We have a much more streamlined, I guarantee you, very streamlined system. And I noticed, Mr. Gum, maybe you're right. The tiers 1 through 5 is Shadow Darn. They're basically just renaming the levels for the spells is essentially what it is. And again, I'm not saying any disparaging anything. I'm just saying, people do different things. But again, Arduin is different, being a mana-based system with augmentation. It's always been there. Do you anything else about Magic you want to know? The other thing about spells, Arduin had literally 800 spells between the different versions. The problem is when you get too many spells like that, there is a redundancy. You have too much, and we found half the spells were redundant, or they were so close to each other. Is like we don't need 15, light spells. You know, we
Right.
can condense that down. They do essentially the same. So
Yeah, I
we
had a
down a
problem
lot
with
of
that.
spells. We wanted uniqueness and utility and fun, so that a spell, when you have a spell, it's like, okay, this is cool, and this other spell is different. You know, it's not the same. You know, some spells may be parallel, but they're different enough that makes them fun.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
You know,
Yeah, I just want to go over that quickly because, you know, magic is a big part of this. So,
oh yeah, no, magic is Arduin. Magic is a huge part of Arduin, and I will say this: we have 20 professions, and your mage food group and your priest food group are the ones with spells. Believe it or not, it worked out well. 12, if we count the Star Mage and the Rune Singer, which are kind of like Mage and Rune Weaver in
Yeah.
Arduin. What I'm saying is 10 classes have spells because they're spell based. The others, the Thief group and the Warrior group, nothing. They do not have spells, period.
can they use magical items?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
They will be. We're actually just getting to building magic items, all the magic items, how things will be done there, the economy, and gold. We're just getting into all that. That's actually our next phase of development, is all the magic, how it works. Magic items, I should say. We've gone through spells. We even have recipes, which are like alchemist herbalism, which has been in Arduin. So we have all that.
yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
There's a lot. So magic has different forms too, I should say, Glenn. There are recipes.
That would be fun.
Yes. So you have another section of magic too, other than just your spells.
Okay, I guess I have to ask this.
Uh-oh.
Psionics?
Let me say this, no.
Good.
They're in Arduin, and probably, well, like I said, there's going to be a couple classes later, but they're not psionics. The psychic was a class in Arduin. That is going to be in the 4th book, The Unearthed Arcana, because we don't have the time to develop it right. And it's called psychic. It's kind of psionics, but it's not, Glenn. It's different. It's a psychic class that Dave had. And we want to do it justice, and it's going to take some development and design to really make sure it works well. Okay. So we've held that back. So right now, no, there are no psionics.
Okay, good.
Spells are incredible.
Yeah. Mr. Gunn's asking, will there be spell creation rules so the PCs can create spells?
We haven't gotten into that yet. Once we get into the Game Master Guide, we may look at the ability to do that. But right at this point, we haven't developed them, Mr. Gunn. We have not done that so far.
Okay. Tell me, what about the critters, the monsters? Got the standard array? You got something special, or?
Oh, Arduin is full of non-standard.
I mean, I've already ripped off the air sharks.
Non-standard creatures. So, yes, and monsters are going to be one of the last developments we do, because monsters are the accumulation of everything else you build and the items and the spells and so forth. We're going to have you're going to have some of the standard stuff, skeleton, zombie, so forth, all your standard creatures, giant,
all that.
Yeah, you're going to have different things. But then you're going to have all the Arduin, all the Dave Hargrave love. I mentioned earlier with Eric, throw some air sharks at people, but there's a lot more creatures out there that Arduin has that are very specific. Hundreds upon hundreds of unique different creatures. So you're going to get your standard, but you're going to get a lot of new. You're going to get a lot of Arduin creatures.
Good.
Which a lot were different takes. And later in the show, I know we're going to get to a couple things. I do have artwork that we're going to be showing on the stream, just so you know, Eric and Glenn, we have some. So
Yeah.
we'll show a little bit of things there. But yes, to answer your question, Glenn, yes, there will be the standard, but a lot of old. And even the standard, there might be a few different takes on the standard stuff too. So
Okay, cool.
it's a good variation.
Mr. Tenkar, did you have any questions?
I'm too busy handling the chat, man.
Oh yeah, they're going crazy.
Yeah,
They
and I
got all the great questions.
Yeah, I apologize if there's more. I'm trying to keep an eye on, and
They love
No,
it. They love you guys.
Dave's been answering the stuff. So there's been questions about is it going to be alchemy in the game? Answer is yes. Will there be magic creation? Hasn't been addressed yet, but artifacts will be what magic items are likely referred to. But for a game that is going to get kickstarted in 2025, we're already in early 2024, and you gentlemen have done a lot of progress because I've heard what's going on behind the scenes. I've spoken, and with George, and I am psyched and looking forward to when this gets a little bit beyond direct in-house playtest, because this is something that I game my Tuesday night game is a bunch of game designers. So if anybody's going to make or break in the end, they've found problems with every, because we all play test amongst ourselves too, whether it's adventures or whatnot. You're not trying to be mean. You're trying to, push it. So I'm looking forward to that day when I can say, hey guys, we got something new that's old.
I've already told my Monday group.
New and old at the same time.
Yeah. No, I'd love you guys to take a shot at it, see what you think. Mm-hmm. And again, the idea is we never take it like that. We tell people, Eric and Glenn, especially internally, when we're doing some internal play testing, give it to us straight. You're not going to hurt our feelings. If something's bad, just tell us, hey, I'm going to say it like this. That sucks. That just, you know what? I don't like that. It doesn't work. But tell us why. Well, it doesn't work because this, and it just, and I'd rather know now than to push something forward that's going to come out there and then people are going to go, oh, that's horrible, or we don't like that. I'd rather hear it and say, look, you need to have this, or you need to do something with this, or have you thought about maybe tweaking this? So absolutely, Eric and Glenn, I'd rather have people just be honestly brutal with us if necessary. And if something's off, tell us. It's better because it's going to make a better game in the end.
Right.
I might think you might get a few play testers out of this chat.
I think you got a lot. You got a lot of Arduin fans in the chat. People that
I can notice a lot of people are hopping in. But did that help to answer some of the questions? I know people said, I saw kill kittens. Yes, kill kittens are going to be in the game. Everyone loves to kill kittens. You're going to have anyone who knows any of the Arduin monsters, all the Arduin monsters from 1 through 9 and the other books. I see very few, and I don't know what the reason would be. We'd cut them out, but you're going to get all the Arduin goodies, there. So we're not going to cut it out for any reason. And to tell you the truth, we found a lot of stuff that Dave Hargrave in his notes and all the material he has. He talks about a lot of other creatures and even some other races too. Now, we may not have full details, but we have enough to build upon. So we may be able to add races people don't even know exist that Dave Hargrave had in his game, or creatures. Believe me, we have some doozies that Dave, even in this latest play test, that Dave Hargrave put in there.
Okay, I'm chomping at the bit to ask this. I know you guys are still ramping up and working on stuff, but you guys going to have any presence at North Texas?
Okay, this is what I'm going to say about
at least just to talk it up,
I know. Let me just say this about conventions. We have not gone to a convention since Gary Con 2 years ago, and that was because of the goodness of Black Blade published. John Hirschberger was a big part of that. Yeah. And Goodman Games was kind enough to, give us the badges along with Black Blade. So we thank
Yeah.
both of them dearly for allowing us to be there and have a presence.
They were awesome.
Yeah. And the thing is, what I want to say about conventions, Glenn, I get it. We have all our focus and dedication to development. It's going to take every ounce of us to get there. I will say this, we will get to North Texas. It may be once we get the game going, once things are, because I want to show up and have Arduin, bloody Arduin, then be able to run.
Oh, okay.
I want to be able to.
Because Bad Mike's in the conversation. I was going to say, Bad Mike, special guests.
Yeah.
Well, that would mean like 2026. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, I'll just throw out some other conventions. TotalCon in Massachusetts has a very large old school track, and people like Jeff Tlanian usually goes. Joe Block, the Greyhawk Grognard, him and his publishing company. So you have a lot of old school people there, and Philadelphia Area Game Expo, which just kicked off this year for a first year of the convention, had well over, I think it was 1,300 guests, pretty large. Next year in 2025, they have a large number of special guests, so many that they included me in the list. Don't ask me why.
I know. I'd like to know why.
I'm flattered, but they're very old school cons. So there are old school cons on the East Coast. ShireCon, which will be about 2 days by then in Connecticut.
Right.
Things that are theoretically drivable if you're coming from the northern reaches of New York State.
Yeah.
You guys can't get much further north.
Gary Con, I agree with you, Eric. I love that you're coming up with these that are drivable for us.
Yes.
Gary Con was 11, 12 hours. That was a killer for us trying to go through Chicago and getting there driving.
That was just a tad too far. Texas is a little closer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Texas, we could probably, hit, we will make it.
And the Northeast is obviously super close.
We'll be right back.
That's why I was throwing them out. These are cons that I've gone to, I mean, except for Page, I didn't go this year.
A Casio,
but I really think that once you guys once the Kickstarter is out, because one of the ways you do get to do your FaceTime, Glenn's having technical issues. One of the ways you do get to get FaceTime is obviously doing live streams like this, but being able to shake hands and meet people and let them hear the passion you have for your creations, your IP. Conventions, especially ones that are geared toward old school gaming, and people that are going to go, oh, I remember Arduin when I grabbed it at whatever store back in 1983. They'll come up and tell you about that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to throw.
I got knocked out. Sorry.
Oh,
okay.
No, you're back, Glenn. That's great.
Yeah, I got totally knocked out.
Oh, here I'm going to put us back into original order.
There we go. We're back.
I don't get.
Yeah, that was my OCD was going crazy. I was like, oh no, what's happened? Oh, the order is out.
Yeah, no, I was like, let me just switch everybody.
Mr. Gunn is asking what the expected price point is for, like, I'll say just the basics, the 3 books.
George can give you the intended goal.
Okay.
Yeah, the intended goal. We want to keep it affordable. You're talking about the price, and I mean, again, we're a year or so out. God, and the thing is, like, I'm trying to really gauge where this will be. I mean, the goal for 3 core books, a GM screen, if we do cards in there, possibly a starter module off the bat. You're talking a nice core group, of product right off the bat. God, I'm going to throw a number out there, and then it's going to be like, Mr. Gunn, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. It's so hard for me to say because we're going to want to keep it cheap, but we don't even know the price points. We haven't even gotten to the point of looking at that. And let me put it this way. I've noticed some of the, like Teslantia had like $150, $175 price point. You know, when you're buying all the core books, all the material together, it's kind of usually in that price range. You know, I mean, I want to try to drop it to where it's more reasonable. I mean, if we could do, God, I'm going to say this, but please, this is really tentative. If we could do 125 for the whole shebang, we'd do it. And that's, like I said, that would be including more material, everything we could. Because the books, what we're planning to do is full size, full color, and black and white books. These are going to be tentatively 8.5 by 11. They're going to be real full size books. And they're probably going to be relatively decent. 300-400 pages plus, and I'm just throwing out things, you know. So
Gotcha.
just so you know, but again, please, because people will hold us. We're trying to do that. If we can do it cheaper, we will, depending on those. I'm just throwing out a figure because most Kickstarters, from what we've seen, that do core books and they put all this material on, it's usually about a 150 to 175 range, right? Am I wrong, Glen?
No, you're right. And here, folks, just to remember too, the current 5e Player's Handbook, DMG, and Monster Manual are $50 a piece. All right, and if you're ordering directly through WotC, you got to get the digital bundle, so it's $60. Now we're not. Ignore the Amazon pricing, because Amazon pricing only works for companies of the size of WotC and stuff that can literally dump products at cost to gain market share. If you can get a game book, a full-size game book for $40, that is extremely good pricing for today in 2024.
Correct.
All right. Who the hell? We had 9% inflation in 2023, right? So we don't know what the future is. We know the intent of Emperor's Choice is to get you a full game at what will be considered not just a competitive price, hopefully considered an affordable price, but that's going to be compared to the market, because, you know, and I mentioned this earlier, right? Like, I have the blessing that I don't have to do what I do as a hobby as a job to put food on the table. But at the same time, I'm not taking a loss on this either. What little monies I do make, I do use to support my co-hosts and all that stuff. But these guys are putting literally their life's blood, their sweat and tears into this game for the next year. All right. And I know people that they've brought in to work on this that are getting paid. People aren't doing this for free. So you're not going to be getting something for nothing. You will be getting something for a very competitive price. If you know these gentlemen and you've seen their generosity, especially around Overstar Christmas, where they'll ship one of everything that Emperor's Choice has anywhere in the world, and I tell them they're insane. But the thing is, if they did something like that on the scale of Kickstarter, they'd not just be insane, they'd be broke. All right. So if you want more Emperor's Choice, if you want more Arduin, you want more bloody Arduin, if you want this stuff to be on the market beyond 2025, support them. And, you know, the more of us that are there to buy these products to support the company, the more products we're going to get back, right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing. And there's the economics of scale. The more people that are back in the project will, in theory, bring the prices down individually, either money that can be put toward further products or keeping the prices as low as they can be. But that's all on you all. It isn't just these gentlemen. All right? So if you like the stuff, if you're interested in it, support it.
Well,
now? Probably.
Okay, well, you know, I'm sorry you can't make it this year to North Texas, but I know Bad Mike is listening out there, but how do you feel about, like, throwing a couple of your T-shirts over to Bad Mike in North Texas for, like, an auction or something like that? They're going to do an auction off on them. That way
Yeah.
you'll get a little bit of publicity.
Yeah,
anyway.
we've been supporting the North Texas Con. We've
yeah.
done, Eric
Good.
knows that too. We've
Good.
given stuff for them, even
Yeah.
did raffle tickets the
Good.
prior year. But yeah,
Glen
Anything to
doesn't,
keep the
Glen doesn't
con
stay up for the midnight auction. I've seen Arduin stuff at the midnight auction taking some decent money.
Okay, he says you already have. So
Glen is always sleeping for the midnight auction.
I went
I'm
once.
there.
I went once.
I know, but it doesn't count.
yeah, and I appreciate it, Eric and Glenn. And like I said, we're going to try to keep things as affordable as we can, but
Good.
we have to at least at minimum cover our costs.
Oh yeah.
And have money to invest in future products, right?
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
If we, the gaming community, want more Arduin, you have to support Arduin now, so they have monies to invest in Arduin later. Because if they're just eking by and covering costs, then they're not going to be putting out more Arduin. It just that's just the the logic of economics. I mean, not to beat anybody over the head with it too hard, but if you are an Arduin fan, and I know many people are very passionate about Arduin.
Yeah.
When I used to always see it advertised in Dragon magazine or other periodicals, like Read 'em All back then. That was my internet, was all the magazines, but I never bought Arduin because the only times I would ever see it was at the Complete Strategist in Manhattan, and it was always on foot level. It was always dog-eared and kicked by people walking by. I was always like, well, when I have a copy in good shape, I'll buy it. Same reason why I didn't buy any of the Judges Guild stuff. It was always on that level that people walked by, and they weren't discounting stuff for looking horribly dog-eared, and so I never bought it back then. I bought it as a adult gamer, and I love it. It's inspirational.
So Bad Mike says you've already sent stuff for auctions and stuff. You guys got coffee cups? What? Wow.
Well, yeah, the coffee cup is actually, there's two of them, and they were gifts, thank you gifts for when we got going. And they actually have the cover and one piece of interior artwork on the other one for the upcoming module Lancer's Rest, which is done. The cover was done by Roland Brown. He did Arduin Grimoire Volume 4.
Okay, yeah.
If you know what, Glenn,
What's that?
you'll get some mugs.
The mugs are awesome.
We'll give you some mugs, Glenn.
Any kind of thing I could.
I just got my own set of mugs yesterday.
Yeah. James just like, wait a minute, I didn't.
Anybody, if I can push anybody over, these guys over to your website and get stuff, it's gold. I'm just trying to get.
And to let everyone know, I appreciate it, Glenn. I've seen some things in the chat. And James, I saw your thing. Yeah, we do not want to promise a price around. That's why I was very hesitant to because you don't know what the situation is going to be. And and like Eric has said, and we truly mean that, we're going to try to give everybody the most for the least. And that's just our philosophy. Mm-hmm. But that's why I'm because we haven't even looked at, the books aren't done. I can't even say it. We haven't even finished putting everything together. But believe me, we're going to give you as much as we can packed in there. We'll try to do everything. We talk, I know Mr. Gunn talked about putting spells and stuff. We'll look into that, the magic items. But we're going to do the best we can with everything. I saw what, James, you also said about the slip covers. Believe it or not, Dave and I have already talked about that. Using the slip cover as a GM screen. We've talked about that, believe it or not, honest to God. We have a lot of ideas on the blackboard, believe me. We're thinking, years ahead and ideas, and some are outrageous. Some might not be possible, but some might be very possible to do, but just, to give everyone a guy, and we appreciate it. The feedback's great. So, and like I said, if we could give the bucks, $25, you get it all. If we were super rich and we didn't care, we would do seriously.
You're not Chris Gonnerman.
Yeah. But if we
God
could,
bless.
we would. That's what's funny. So
God bless him.
I was gonna say, guys, I don't know if you'd like, I don't know if there's any other questions. I'm thinking, we've talked about some of the things that we have and on deck, and we talk about miniatures, and I don't know, Dave, do you want to maybe give a preview of some of the miniatures that we have, just so everybody knows? I know there are.
Yeah, I got them here from last night. I could show
And the artwork.
Yeah, why don't we
We'll show some
preview
artwork
some of the
last.
miniatures and artwork? Are you guys good
I'll
with that?
apologize up front. I'm not that good with holding these up by the camera, but here
That's okay.
is
Ooh, look at that.
a Kai Shang.
Kai Shang.
Here's most of the Desert Sorg.
Wow.
Damn.
Those
And,
are great.
From William Watt. We have the Salamander.
Ooh.
Done. Just to give you an idea of scale, here's the new Frank.
A headless Frank. Wow.
Kind of hold the head up there.
I don't know. It was kind of cool the way that was. Hey, that's nice.
So I'll hold the frame up individually. He's the first one.
Okay.
There's
Nice.
a couple. I can't seem to hold it correctly.
You guys
No,
all make me want to start painting again.
There is a Skyray that is redone. He's
Are you gonna-
pretty big, just
are
to
you
give
guys
you an
doing
idea
air
of the
shark?
size.
You guys going to do air sharks?
We already do.
Oh, yeah?
We got the hammerheads and the great white.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Then we have, I'll show you two more here that I got here. One, these are all from William Watt. They're all fantastic. He did the Orant.
Damn.
Wow.
Glenn, when you talk about a creature,
Here's
the
the height.
Oran, think of
He's
a
a big boy.
minotaur, but it's a rhino-headed minotaur.
A rhinotaur.
Yep.
Then I'll show you one more that I wasn't going to show, but I
Sharknado.
will.
Air Sharknado.
Black Scorpion is done by Bill Watt.
Woo!
Oh,
These are
nice.
nicely detailed. I love it.
Wow.
Can't seem to find that camera angle. That's good.
It's okay, Dave. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Height.
Yeah, that's good. That's perfect.
Wow.
Wow, for scale. Wow.
They're really difficult to hold here. Then probably be it for the minis there for right now. There are more. There's a Doom Guard. There's a whole lot of skeletons, and there's a whole bunch of other things that we haven't got into yet that are done.
Yeah. We have approximately what it is, Dave, between the old miniatures that we never released when we went into hibernation and the new ones we have in development, about 25, 30, give or take.
Yeah, that's the best guess.
Yeah. So we
If Bill's listening, he's going to kill me saying, what pieces? Well, they're
Yeah.
there. Mostly the skeletons, because we did a lot of them. So
Yeah. So we have miniatures to back up. That's another thing that we like, Eric and Glenn, is we're going to give you the whole package. We're going to support
Good.
with World. We're going to support with miniatures if you're into that. The cards,
Right.
we're looking at the cards, like I said. So that's another thing that's we definitely want to do, but it depends if we can afford to get them because we want quality cards. The old cards are great, don't get me wrong, but we want to step it up and give you something really good, for the items and monsters and so forth. So that's a whole
And
other thing.
Bill that did the most of the sculpts there, all of them but the green ones. He used to work for Grenadier Miniatures. He did the dragon lines for them and a lot of other pieces. He's fantastic. I can't say enough.
Yeah.
Thank
William
you, Bill. If
Watts.
you're here, I'm not sure if you are. He also painted the continent map that is going to be part of our Kickstarter. Our goal is to start that Kickstarter on July 1st and probably ship within a month and a half afterwards, or maybe 2 months afterwards at the most.
Okay.
And
Do you want to talk about that now, Dave? Do you want me to?
yeah, you could go. I could pop up the picture of the map and just show it to you real quick.
That'd be great.
So just like Dave said, we're going to do a Kickstarter in July called the Maps of Arduin. And what it's going to be is you're going to get a base of 4 maps. So for the base pledge, which there probably is only going to be one, you're going to get
Let me know if you
4
see it.
maps. The old Arduin map, the updated Corinth map, and you're going to get a small and large continent map of Peora, which is the continent that Arduin is on here.
Are you able to see that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll zoom into Arduin.
Why don't you zoom into Arduin, Dave? This map has basically been in production for 12 years because it's a hand-painted map that we've done. That was done by William Watt.
So
And
I'll scroll down.
you want to scroll down, give them a, and just so you know, William Watt did the painting itself. Dave has been doing an unbelievable amount of meticulous work on this map.
These are all individual paintings by Bill Watt. Every one of these little ones is a painting in its own right.
Yeah, all the little things, the ships, the monsters in the sea. Go on, also give a shout out to Clinton Walker, who worked on this. Roland Brown, Jason Bogart also helped with this. Mike Nelson, and I also want to give a big shout out. If you know all the flags, all their country flags. There's 76 country flags that denote all the countries on the continent. And Shadow and Sun, Shadow's the Sun portion of Shadow, Jackie did all the flags for us. And we happened to find out by pure accident that Jackie, one of his hobbies is the science of flags and the history of flags.
Oh, heraldry and such.
So we got him
Flexiology.
Flexiology, yeah. He went in and developed all the flags. And it was interesting how he told us that the reason certain regions of the world, you'll notice the flag colors are kind of consistent. They're different shapes. They're different. We had no idea, but he did an unbelievable job on all the flags on the maps. And just to let everybody know,
thank you, Shadow.
Maps are going to be canon. They all work with the Arduin Bloody Arduin. You know, there's not going to be different ones for this. These are all official, new, updated maps. And to give you kind of a sense of scale, if you guys don't mind, Dave showed.
That's okay.
Dave showed you this map. Just to give you a reference, it's a 39 and a half by 30 and a half, right, Dave?
Okay.
Yep.
And this is the large one. On the Kickstarter, you're also going to get the smaller version of the map. To just
Which is 24 inches by 30 and a half.
So you're going to get both of these. Then in addition,
all of these are going to be printed on a parchment style paper. It's a thinner paper. It's not your typical poster, but it's just like the Arduin map that we did years ago.
Exactly.
It's that same style, just a slightly different color instead of parchment color. It's more white.
Yep. This is the Corinth map. You're also going to get this map too, which is the island of Corinth, which is smaller, but it's updated. And again, all the information, the names, the points of interest, everything is from Dave Hargrave that Dave B, has worked on meticulously to put together. So you're going to get 4 base maps because you're also going to get, in addition, the original
ones we have stock on that, which we have quite a bit.
Yeah. So Glenn and Eric, because you both have a map.
Yeah.
Take a look.
We do.
You take a look at the size of the map compared to what the new continent map is going to be.
Wow.
Okay.
And the continent map, the small one, and I apologize because I'm just trying to hold off. You see where the small continent map is kind of very similar, just a little bit deeper, than that. Just to give you an idea. But all these maps, every single one of these maps is going to come with the base Kickstarter, and in addition, there possibly might be some additional material. So you're going to get all this with the base Kickstarter. And then I'm going to want to show you one other thing. There's only going to be 2 stretch goals in this Kickstarter. One stretch goal will be for 4 prints, and we will probably divulge what those prints will be down the road when we get closer to the Kickstarter. But the second one, there's one other goal, which is the last. There's only 2 stretch goals.
I can pull it up too.
Why don't you pull it up, Dave?
Oh, wait.
Ooh.
We could show the size.
It's going to be this map. This is going to be the king. This is the brand new Arduin map that has been, again, worked on for 2.5 years. It has all the Arduin information on there, has all the dungeons. It has all the towns, the rivers, the mountains, everything, all named, by the way.
A lot more dungeons than the original map.
This map has what we want to call it is a discovery map. And why is it a discovery map? There's a ton of detail when you're looking, even from my angle, I'm looking at it. But when you close into an area, and Dave is going to show something in a minute, you'll be shocked with how much information, how many names and things. And
you
again,
get some of the countries that border it too, so that's what all these mountains are.
Yep. And again, to give you an idea of scale, here's the old Arduin map compared to the new one. So you get a kind of a scale of how bigger this one is. And this is a 39 by a 30 and a half.
And all the names on the old one they're actually right on the map itself, not off to the side on the new one.
Yeah.
That's a nice map. I like that.
Yeah. And you both of you know the feel of the Arduin map. You know, encouragement.
Oh yeah.
The two maps are the same. They have, and what I want people to know is it's a map. It's a scroll. It has that sound. It has that parchment feel. It feels like a map. Like you roll this, you unroll it. Just like
we chose to go with that paper because it just seemed more like it was art than a poster that you hang on your wall, like Bright Rider, Sarah Fox.
Like Dave said, we went back and forth, and we were like, it just has that parchment, has that feel, that texture, even that smell, and it's like that's what we're gonna do for our maps. But again, you get all the base maps, and there's only 2 stretch goals. And I know you talked before, Glenn, about the stretch goals, but that's it. And the Arduin map comes on that last stretch goal, so you're getting the Arduin map for nothing. And if you want to hone in, Dave, maybe hone in.
Are you able to see that or no? Can you see it?
Yeah. Why don't you close in, Dave? Yeah, show them.
Oh,
the detail looks awesome.
Yeah, go in even closer, Dave. Get a little closer, a little closer. So what I'm talking about, that's perfect, Dave. Why don't you leave it right there? So everybody who's looking at this, when I'm saying a discovery map, when you're looking at it from a distance, even where I am, like I got it behind me, if I'm looking at it, it looks cool. I can't see a lot of the detail. Dave's honed in, and what you see is, oh, what's this? Fire Witch Mountain, the Great Burn. Oh, Glowfang Mountain, Gray Shield Hit. Oh, the Black Dwarf Down. Must be a dungeon or a pace of interest. Craigfire. This is what I'm talking about, is the beauty of Arduin, the imagination, the creativity that Dave Hargrave gave us. I don't know how the heck he came up with these names, hundreds and thousands of names. There's over 200 specific names. There's the King. Skull Tower was his first and largest dungeon that Dave ever ran. It is just unbelievable. And Glenn and Eric, just look at that. Think about when you need a name or a cool place. Read any of those names. The House of the Silver Whelp, Hell Hill, Skull Tower, Toad Mountain, the Old Trading Post, Dead Watch Mountain,
House
Old
of the
Creek
Silver
Bridge.
Whip.
Yep. Doomdale Clearing, the Dragon's Throat, Silver Skull Hill. I mean, the names are unreal, and they invoke an imagination.
They do.
You know what I'm saying? And this guy, I'm telling you guys, it's amazing. How did this guy just sit there and pump these out and just boom, boom? I mean, the continent map, we have it where we have a resource. We have a main content map that we're using for all the countries. There's over 3,000 names between the countries, the cities. I mean, it's insane. The Arduin map, Dave Wodo, is about 200 plus names on the Arduin map.
Damn.
About 800.
What? 800?
About 800.
Oh, I thought you said 800.
No, about 800. The continent map that we worked off of, which doesn't have all that on that release, is over 2,200 names on it.
Yeah.
The one that we're releasing just has the capitals. It doesn't have the other cities and all the rivers and all of the mountain ranges. I mean, there's 2,200 of them. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just unbelievable. And again, July is going to be the Kickstarter. We'll start doing some advertising in May. Then June is the pre-Kickstarter for 30 days, and then the actual Kickstarter. And as usual, just like we said before, we are guaranteeing quick turnaround for the filling of pledges when the campaign ends. We're soaking everything up front to get everything here, so that as soon as the campaign ends, we're shipping.
That's a good question. We'll have numbers and letters to aid in finding places.
Yes. Yeah. Right now, the World Guide can tentatively, but we're going to have a new one because this has been redone. So, like I said, we're looking at possibly additional material to go with the maps. We're looking at that. We just haven't finalized that portion, but that's what we're working on right now, Glenn and Eric, to get that. So you might get an additional things to go with the 4 maps. Again, the continent map, small, large, the Arduin original map, the new Corinth map, and then 4 prints on the first stretch goal, and then you get the new Arduin map on the second. And it's going to be affordable. We already have a number in our head, we think. We're not going to divulge it right now, but I guarantee you it's going to be affordable. Way more affordable than you think.
Good.
Very cool.
Good. Got to get all this stuff out.
Yeah,
no, definitely. And like I said, if you are an Arduin fan, this is what you've been asking for.
Even if you aren't an Arduin fan, check it out.
Become an Arduin fan, but especially the people that have been following us for years.
Yeah. If just like you said, both of you, if you're looking just for an island that you want in your campaign, here you go. Take this, and you've got points of interest.
Oh, there's points of interest on it.
Yeah, points of interest. Those are literally points of interest that they're called. And now I'm having the same problem Dave did. But you have just different things here. And again, pop it into your campaign. And again, it's a real map, and we love the feel and a physical piece.
That's what you got. That's what you need.
Absolutely.
I'm psyched.
I'm psyched too. But I mean, plus that island, Penis Island there. Wow.
Let me show you one thing here that since they're mentioning
I wanted to get us demonetized. Sorry.
the dragons there from William Watt.
Uh,
So this is the series William Watt did for Grenadier
hold on.
Okay.
and more.
Nice.
And I'd like to point out this is the cover that most people have.
Dragon
There
Lord.
was another version that got pulled from the shelves for the same reason the Arduin 2 color. Or
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We're
Bill was
definitely
kind
gonna
enough to
demonetize.
give me his copy of this.
Nice.
Wow.
Very nice.
Yes.
So I don't know how many exist of it, but as far as I know, that's the only one I've ever seen.
Yeah. And
Forever.
you know what? I saw in the chat somebody said, I don't know if it was James, about doing the cover without the black bikini. So I don't know. We'd have to think about it. We might have to do a restricted book if we do something like that. But
You might have to put the art on the inside. I think.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
correct. Well, yeah, because there are some characters in Arduin that technically would be half dressed, so to speak. You know. So,
Wow.
but that's the big thing now is that Kickstarter for us that we'll be going to. Let's see, one other thing that we have, if you guys don't mind, do you have any other questions or anything? Does anybody?
I'm sure the chat will throw something out at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if I ever produce a game, I want George to be my point man on this.
Yeah, you know what? This to me, Glenn, I've literally, I sit what you're looking at. I sit right in the next room or this room. I sit here. I go to work. I come back from work. I plop on the computer. I get out all the Arduin books and all the reference material, and I'm pounding away. I do Zoom meetings 4 to 6 times a week. Zoom meetings with the team, Jason, Fernando, Jesse, the whole team that's been involved. I talked to Graham, to other Shadow. Who am I missing? Brent, Fernando, Sandor, who's our editor. Even RPG Grandma. So I'm trying to. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Dave, good God, I'll shoot myself if I'm forgetting somebody. All the artists that we deal with, the writers, Levi. Just talked to Levi the other day, and it invigorates me because I'm exhausted. But when I get the chance to talk about it, the vision and what we're doing, then I go, and you can see my Italian in me where I get the hands going, you know. But
Well, I've seen a lot of
I
people.
did try to get him to wear some green tights like men in tights, but
yeah, here we
just
go.
not biting.
Dave keeps telling me we got to do a video for the Kickstarter. We got to have you running around with some tights, and I got a sword over here and some armor, and just be, you know, my
We'll get Bad Mike in his devil costume with a Speedo and promote art.
He's not in the Speedo. It's his brother.
Oh, okay. Well, one of them can
I know you haven't gone to a midnight auction.
Can we print an Arduin Speedo for him and he can wear it?
That's awesome. That is
Oh
awesome.
my God. You know, I know a lot. I've seen a lot of people with their projects and stuff, and I'm not knocking them or anything, but it's refreshing to see guys who are just got so much skin in this, got so much enthusiasm, and just all in on it.
Yeah.
And it's just refreshing to see that.
Thank
you.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
A lot of guys are buy my product. You know?
Yeah. And we're not like that. We're going full bore, and please, you know, we're, like I said, we're not going to beg, but we're going to give people the best we can at the best price we can. And I know both of you know us. We will give whatever. Eric, like I said, has called us crazy, but that's us. It's a labor of love. Like I said, if it was about making money, we wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't be that excited. It would just be the monotone. Yep. We're doing this.
We're doing this.
Yeah, you know, don't want to do this. And let me, as another little side thing, I'm going to show off, if you guys don't mind, some of the artwork, so you guys can get a taste.
Yes, please.
So
Let me go first.
And I know that
we're the one piece.
You want what?
Let me do one piece first.
You want to do one piece first, Dave? Go ahead.
Yeah. this nobody has seen before except within the group. I mean, you may have seen the picture before if you had Arduin Eternal.
Nope.
I just need one moment to pull it up. Okay, let me hit the share screen button now. Present. There it is.
I'm curious, Dave. I'm not even sure what you're going to do.
Can we get a drum roll in this? Ah! Oh my goodness, that's nice.
So William Watt drew this as well. This is actually a black and white piece that Roland Brown colorized. So it's two artists here.
Nice.
And this is one of our centaurs. I think it's the Shadra Kai, which are kind of like the desert or light horse centaurs. They're more like scouts. But this is some of the things we're doing. When you look at this, obviously it's all color, but like Dave said, it was black and white. And our art director, Roland Brown, recolorized it. And we've been doing that with some of the old artwork.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. The black and white is fantastic too. It's we're going to use it still, the black and whites, but
I'm a
some
big
of them, if we
advocate
can
of
get them
black and white.
colorized, we'll do that too.
Should I click the present here, Eric, to share or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, so good.
So I'm going to go through these one at a time. So this is a piece we had out there. Again, William Watt. And this is our wizard. And like I said, I want to give you a preview of everything. But this is some of the artwork. Again, another colorized piece of artwork that we thought is classical. The mage, researching or scribing a spell in his spell book.
I'm getting a real Tunnels and Trolls vibe off of that picture. I like it.
Do you? Good.
Yeah, I do.
But and we've been highlighting artwork. Every Thursday on our Facebook page is Arduin Artwork Thursday. So we highlight a piece.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So we have this. Let me get you another one here. Oop. Let me share another. Here's another one that was a black and white that Roland colorized. So this is an old piece. It's an elven knight on horseback that he did. So another classical one from the Arduin. I forgot which grimoire that it was in, but Roland recolorized it to, again, give it kind of updates it
4
with these pieces. Is it 4? Okay. AG4 then. Let me see here. Let me get another one. Oh, not that. That. Here's another one. And this is home for our module. It's in Lancer's Rest.
Yeah.
And this is Dustman, who has a store in the module, and it's it was made in honor of Alan Bird II. So it was a gentleman who was attached, who was a friend of Lance's, and so we did this artwork for the module, and that's the character that's in the game who's in the storefront called the Dustman.
Nice.
Yep. So this is our black and white. Now you can see some of the black and white artwork and the quality.
Very crisp.
Yes. Yes. The artists are just unbelievable. That we have just unreal. I don't know how else to say it. Let me get another one.
Somebody asked what what your Facebook group name is.
I got it. I got it. I'm gonna
Okay.
put it-
Okay. I didn't.
Here is the Noblin. We were talking about the Noblin, Eric and
Mhm.
Glenn. Here's
Yeah.
the Noblin. It's
Thanks.
the race, one of the races in Arduin that you could play.
Whoa.
Yep.
Flying goblins. Wow.
The Noblin is a combination of goblin and kobold, and they have bat wings.
Wow.
And they have a couple other things. They love their throwing darts and their short swords. So, and they actually have, not only do they have a little bit of infravision, but it's short. They also have ultrasonics. They have the bat
Really?
squeaks. Yes. Just a little tidbit I'm throwing out there. Like I said, the uniqueness of Arduin.
Very nice. I love it.
Let me see. I'm not going too fast for the chat or anything.
No, you're going fine.
Okay.
No, you're doing good. Yeah,
got-
Arduin Grimoire is. I'm looking at his Facebook page right now.
Okay. Here's a Scorpoon.
Ooh.
How do you
Lion.
like this guy?
I like it.
How about encountering 2 to 12 of these things?
Oh wow.
Yeah. So a more black and white, which, like I said, we're doing a mix of both. That we believe in that, and that's what we're going to do, is mix it up.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah. We're going to stay away from the argument all color or all black and white. We're like, no.
So, Mr.
And then I'm
Gunson,
going to show you 2 pieces that have not been seen. Like most of those have been kind of a little bit, but not much. But these are very new.
Mhm.
And this one,
Oh,
this is our Triclops.
oh, Triclops.
Yep. 3-headed Cyclops.
In relation.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave, back in the day, he called it Triclops. So that's a new piece. One of our giants.
Oh, that's great. That looks like it could be that thing looks like it'd be on a cover of Dragon magazine or something.
Yeah.
I
Our
like
artist
that
who's been doing some of the color stuff and the black and white is unreal.
Mm-hmm.
And I got one last one. And this is called Casting of the Cards.
Okay. That's great.
Yep. And what it is Dave Hargrave developed a game called Swords and Dragons, which we sell, which was a game within the game. Kind of like similar to poker, but it also used for divination. And the King of Skulls, if you can read it there, is a card in the game.
Uh-huh.
So we wanted to do this. So the casting of the cards by Death itself.
Wow.
So again, this is the black and white. This is the quality of artwork that you're going to get in the game. So I hope that's everything I have.
That's gonna be.
Very cool.
I'm excited now. I want to see.
I've been excited since we started talking about Arduin Bloody Arduin, and the maps are beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Rachel's gonna hate me because I'm gonna be like, these gotta go up somewhere.
Yeah, Bill and Quentin did a great job on those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bill did the continent and Quentin did the country.
they look like artwork, and it doesn't look like gaming art. It looks like an artistic map, and it's spot on.
Wow.
Really spot on.
Well, I
Well,
love that you're saying that, Eric, because
Thank you. Yeah.
when
Bill
we
did the Torrent
discussed
map,
it,
too.
the reason we used parchment paper and we went for that look in a matte finish, not glossy, was because it's a piece of art to us. It's not just, It's not Knight Rider poster,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't something you're going to pin or tape up on your wall. This is something that you're going to want to frame, take it to a Michael's or someplace like that, have them do a proper framing job, and then put it up. I might get away. I actually might get away with that. That actually might work. We'll update. We'll see how that happens.
Yeah.
But
No, that's awesome. And again, that's the reason why we give you a smaller map too. So
And we have some more maps already in the works. So
Yep.
if they're the same quality, you gentlemen are hitting home runs.
it'll be
Just to throw this out there, since you guys are most likely launching this Kickstarter in July,
yes.
I will speak for Bad Mike and say come back when the Kickstarter is live this
Okay.
summer. Come back on a Wednesday night show, and we'll give like this was largely focused on Arduin in general.
Yeah.
But as we get closer to this Kickstarter, when it's live, come back. We'll talk more about these maps. They look effing awesome. They really, really do. You guys are great. I know. You know what? My OCD is going crazy right now too. So
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
yeah, there we go. Let me fix that.
Yeah.
But seriously, now, I'm going to throw this out there. Is there an Arduin fan group on Facebook that is run by Emperor's Choice, or is it just,
there's only the one Arduin Facebook fan group, but then there's the Arduin Grimoire, the commercial site, which is ours. There's two of them. There's the Arduin Grimoire by Dave Hargrave, which is the Facebook fan group, which I think is private right now. It's still private, so you have to join. But then there's the Arduin Grimoire, Emperor's Choice,
which I just linked,
which can like and follow us if you don't mind, and you get all the official nudes there. I mean, we're connected with the fan group.
Okay.
But
Andy runs that, right?
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, like I said, we'll bring you back on a Wednesday night.
My chopped liver.
You can come back and you can join us, Glen.
Come back here.
You can join us.
Technically, Arduin.com is open. It's a discussion board. It's been open, but we've never announced it. So there's only a handful of members right now because we use it for playtesting. But it is open, so it is public.
Yeah, our www.arduin.com is open. It's not fully developed yet in a sense that it's going to have forms. It's going to be the support mechanism for Arduin Bloody Arduin when it comes out. We're going to have, our designers, our team ready to answer questions, talk about anything Arduin. So that'll be the main hub eventually. People could go there to sign up, but it will become active once Arduin Bloody Arduin, comes out. That's when that'll shine. That'll be the whole support site for Arduin Bloody Arduin.
Somebody's asking about official nudes. What?
Of you, Glen.
No, that's not nudes. Cal Benoni.
Glen, you can start with the Speedo and then work your way down.
It's right there.
We're down now.
And again, we appreciate it. And like I said, we're going to keep pushing, doing everything we can, Eric and Glenn. And
good. But like I said before, if you anything I can do, nudge me. That's all you got to do, honestly. Arduin is something that is really, really exciting. It's a very cool IP, and it is timeless. It really is. Dave had some insights that it's after doing this episode with you guys, it's doing this live stream. Now I want to break out my Arduin books and start rereading them again to see what I missed the first time, and do another series of episodes. But
no, that's awesome. And one thing I did forget to mention that I talked about the other night too is Dave Hargrave, and we talked about honoring him. Just real quick, we've talked with Griff Morgan who's done the
Mhm.
Secrets of Blackmore. And we're gonna try to reconnect with him again. And we've had discussions. We want to, if possible, do a documentary about Dave Hargrave
Well,
because
that'd be
we
really
feel
cool.
it's a shame that this guy, like I said, most people they kind of know Arduin, but they don't know the real history and what Dave Hargrave brought, to the industry. What his donation, my God, was to the industry. So that's something I want to really emphasize too. That it is about honoring Dave. Like I said, Arduin Bloody Arduin was going to be his magnus opus, his final thing for Arduin, and we're honoring that. But we'd also like to have people have something like a documentary to say, you have Secrets of Blackmore, you have Gary Gygax, Dave Arneson. Well, there was this other guy called Dave Hargrave who did a lot for the industry. People just don't know it. Just like you guys said, when you're playing a Tri-Creen in Dark Sun, guess what? Came from Arduin and the frame.
There you go.
Just to say, but
Works for me.
No, there's a lot of stuff. If you read the original Arduin material, whether it's a reprint or I can't read the originals anymore.
I know.
The font is way too small. But you go, oh, that looks familiar, and you got to rewire your head going, this came out 45 years ago, as opposed to a Dark Sun coming out in the early 90s. So you gotta look at the timeline.
Right.
Dave, George, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Really good time.
That was fun.
It really was. Glenn, I'd thank you, but I know you.
I tried to get it demonetized. I tried. I really did.
You might have. I didn't check.
We appreciate it. And I'm sorry. I know this was long. So
That's
Eric,
okay.
you got the one that wants the Speedo, and I got the one that wants the green tights.
Yeah,
It's on the side of us.
Glenn, you succeeded. Don't worry about it. All right.
Remember last time?
I know.
Attack of the-
Listen,
Yeah.
if I was worried about being
You
monetized,
work
I
that
wouldn't
out.
do live streams. I'll tell you that much. But thank you all,
was
folks.
excellent.
There's going to be a live stream tomorrow night. Gamers Health at 8 p.m. Myself, my wife Rach. You'll get the latest updates. I don't know what the topic's going to be yet. Beyond that, we might not figure out if we walk the dog tomorrow. God only knows. Other than that, be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. I'll see you all mañana.
Good night, folks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good night.